Hey everybody, welcome to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford. The point of this show is to help improve ourselves as dogmen and to raise the quality of the dogs on the end of our lead. So let's settle in, turn the volume up, and let's see if we can't learn a trick or two together from our guests. Hey everybody, you are listening to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford, and today we have Merle Seeley on the phone. How you doing, Merle?
I'm doing great, Kobe. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. It's been kind of a busy spring for me. I kind of haven't been messing with my dogs just a whole lot. I did just have a litter of puppies that I'm pretty excited about, but I kind of been off trashing on some thunder chickens the last couple weeks.
That's there's nothing wrong with that. Every now and then, I like to do a little deer hunting in the fall myself, so I understand having more than one love for the outdoors.
Yeah, I try to soak up about as much of it as I can.
Absolutely. What kind of litter of pups you got?
Well, I've got a Messiah China girl uh, female,
Oh,
and I crossed her over to Wade's Romeo dog. So they're like
oh,
they're like a first
awesome.
cousin cross kind of deal.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome. I'm actually supposed to get one off of the cross he just made with Messiah and one of the I don't know exactly what her name is, but she got some mojo breeding in there, some hound breeding.
that Walker, is it
So
is it the full Walker he's
yeah,
got? I've I've
yeah,
I've talked to him about that dog. That ought to be a really nice litter. Uh,
yeah. I'm excited. I'm hoping to get one of those, and I've done a couple of the bird dog crosses in the past that and I like that action back, head in the air, a lot of air in the building. I like that.
yeah, I'm excited. That this cray cray dog I've got right now that I've been hunting, she's got a lot of go, and uh, to be quite honest, I don't know how she does a lot of what she does sometimes. Uh,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
pretty remarkable to me. But
that's awesome. Those kind right there will spoil you for the rest.
yeah, and Romeo ain't no slouch either. I've hunted against him a few times, and I watched him go once and said, I think we might need to try something here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, about anything Wade has ain't going to be no slouch. He ain't going to keep it around if it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's got he's got an impressive resume behind him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just got a litter of pups on the ground too. April the 10th, I believe it was. So I'm kind of excited. Another Jack Cross with going back on some of the um, Hummer and Festus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of excited about that.
Well, I hope they work out
So
for you.
same with you, buddy.
Well,
But
I don't know just a whole lot about you, Merle. I've kind of heard about you and
okay,
read about you on social media and stuff for for quite a few years now. I know I've kind of followed along. You have a lot of success with young dogs, and that was kind of one of the things I was wanting to get you on here and kind of pick your brain and talk to you about. But why don't you just kind of start out
absolutely.
and just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and that kind of stuff, just kind of as a primer.
Alrighty. I'm Merle Seeley. I'm live in central Indiana, where they hold autumn oaks. Richmond, Indiana is about 30 miles from me. And so I'm centrally located between Cincinnati and Indianapolis. So I can be in Ohio in 45 minutes. I can be in Indianapolis in an hour. So been doing this for quite a long time. Got my first squirrel dog when I was about 10 years old, which my dad had one when I was young. And he picked me one up, which my dad was a hound, coon hunter, but he always kept a little squirrel dog who lived on a farm. And I picked my first one up when I was about 10 years old. Just fell in. I've always had some kind of tree dog or some kind of dog uh, my whole life, so I did it for quite a while.
Nice. What kind of dog What kind of squirrel dogs were you hunting back then?
They were, they actually was mountain curs, and now I'm not going to say they was original mountain curs because my dad would breed, a little bit of hound or um, even farm shepherd. He would put it about anything in them to, make them that farm dog that would tree squirrels, tree coons, tree. We treated back when I was a boy. We treated a lot of groundhogs, and but me and my brother, we loved to get home from school, and my dog's name was Red, and we we grab him and head straight to the woods. We loved that. It just got in my blood. And then, of course, following my dad, and I had two uncles that coon hunted also, and they'd come over and we'd all go coon hunting, and it just got in my blood as a young man, and never looked back. I've had a bunch of them since then, but that that one when I was a boy, you know, they kind of leave an imprint in your mind. Like they probably weren't near as good as you remember to be as a boy, but they were a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Get a lot of squirrels and groundhogs and coon. About anything go up a tree, he would tree it, and he treated it. We rewarded him with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but great memories.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds
So
like it.
yeah, and then as I got older, I mainly hunted dream curs and just mixed up dogs until probably about 25, 28 years ago. I really started breeding more toward the original mountain curs, and kind of fell in love with the junior dogs and the junior dog programs. Going to chasing the junior titles. I like I like seeing a young dog come on and make progress. So um, we've been successful in that. Um, so we kind of guided more toward the junior dogs than we do the senior dogs. Seems like once they get about a year and a half to 2 years old, I start getting bored and want to start over. The older I get, the harder it gets. So I'll be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. So, but just because you start all over and it's like, oh, here we go again. But if I didn't like it, I guess I wouldn't keep doing it. So, and I coon hunt too. I coon hunt and squirrel hunt. So it kind of mixes up what I do. But I don't really competition coon hunt. I keep the competition mainly for squirrel and just pleasure coon hunt.
Kind of
So,
dogs you running on coon?
hound walker dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, last year I had a Frogger female that I trained, and this year I've got one that's a little money female. So she's just starting to run in tree. So she's going to be a nice one. Uh, got a lot of talent, but I like in the summertime, spring, summer, early fall. I love the coon hunt. When winter comes, it's hard for me to do the squirrel hunting all day long, then still trying to coon hunt at night is just a little much. So I I kind of go straight to squirrel hunting when winter, late fall, winter, and up till the spring hits. I do more squirrel hunting.
Are you kind
So
of the same way on the coon dogs? Kind of get them started, get bored, and get a new one.
yep, that's what I do. Yeah, I the one I had last year, she went out to Minnesota, and the guy just actually gave me a good report on her. He's put her in two hunts, and she's got two wins, which I don't know what magnitude of what how large the hunts was. He just said he's put her in two hunts and got two first place. So it's always good to get good reports back on them
Mm-hmm.
and make you feel good that people's enjoying them and hunting them. Um,
Yeah.
but this one here, me and Shane Martin, we own this one on half. Shane bought her out of Illinois as a puppy and raised her up, and then sent her here. He had her treeing a little bit before he ever sent her, but I'm just trying to get her further along, and then send her back to Shane once I get her. And he's going to try to run her in a few hunts. So she's bred really well.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, kind of along the same note of you having a lot of success with young dogs. Uh, do you have any idea, kind of? I meant to get a hold of you and see if you could calculate a little bit, but do you have? Could you kind of give us a rundown of maybe some of the dogs you've had that have done really well in the junior hunts?
yeah. Probably the first most notable dog that I had that really done great at a young age was the Barren River Sniper dog. I raised him and his sister from a puppy. Bought them both off of a fella here in Rushville, Indiana, Jeff Morgan, and I got them both at 6 weeks old, and he won. First hunt I took him to was in September, to the Jamestown September hunt, the fall hunt. He was 13 months old, and we just entered him in the all age hunt, and he won that hunt. And then we took him to Kentucky State hunt. He won the Kentucky State, and then I actually sold him to Chad Harston, and Chad won the Junior World with him in December, and then won the March hunt with him in uh, the spring hunt in March. And then me and my buddy Gary Brown purchased him back and kept him for quite a while and run a lot of hunts. I had a lot of success, but he was the first one that really got me excited about running the junior programs. And then after that, we've had a lot of gold tooth, um, red bud, big play ray, snipers, um, playboy, playgirl. I'm trying to think, Connie K. Um, there's been a boatload of them. We won a few years ago with Hawk, won a couple years ago with Tabby, and got reserved this past year with Ringo. Then we ended up going to the USDC Junior, and we won the Junior World with him there. And then this year, we got a reserve with him in the World, and then we got a reserve with my son's junior dog, Ozzy. But Ashton Hall handled him for me until the final cast, because I was handling two other dogs, so we kind of worked it out. But yeah, I've got 14 world titles, and I think 13 reserve world. So I've had a good run, but it's been a long time doing it too. It's been a lot of years.
Well, that's still pretty impressive collection of
Yeah,
titles.
yeah, it's been fun. I enjoy it. Like I say, it it gives me something to shoot for every year, so I have more of a goal than just going out there and hunting every day. I kind of put myself uh, having that goal, which, of course, we're building one for this year. We've got one off of Tabby and Big Mac we call Peaches, and she's doing really well. And I know it's going to be a tall task because they get better every year. Seems like the competition gets stiffer every year, and they get better every year. But if you're not out there working at it, trying, you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we I do want to clarify something I said in another podcast, and I've had a lot of people call me about it. I made a comment one of my podcasts that I don't like to do cage game for starting dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people's called me and said, "So you don't use cage game?" And I probably said that wrong in my last podcast. Um, I do use cage game, but I think too many people abuse it. Um, I do use it if it's necessary, but I don't overdo it. I think people get excited with using cage game. They'll have a young pup bark up real hard at something in a cage, and so they're ready to trap another one, and they overdo it, and then I feel like the pup starts expecting you to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a motto: whatever it takes to get them started, I'm going to do it. If it takes if that pup ain't kicking off the way I think he should in the wild, just taking him walks or walking him around feeders and stuff, I will trap a squirrel. I've even trapped coons to get them fired up and treeing up. So I did want to clarify that because I've always felt bad that I made it sound like I've never used it, because I have, and I still would, to get one started. Because, like I say, I've had a lot of people call me and say, "Well, I know you don't like to do that." I'm like, "Well, I do it. I don't want to overdo it, because I think you can cause some problems if you overdo it."
Yeah, I believe I've been guilty of that one myself, more than once. I've got a squirrel tube that I built, and I
Yes,
think it's really easy to overdo it and do
yes,
it too young.
yeah,
I think it sets too high of a standard. Like a dog doesn't want to, if that's what they're used to seeing, where they can see the squirrel and get fired up and chase it around on the ground for a minute, and then you let it go up the tree, and that's what the standard is to bark at it. Then they run around in the woods and they see a squirrel run by and they don't get to, or they smell a squirrel, that it's the amount of scent that they want isn't there, and they just don't get fired up about it. I think that's
yes,
one of my
and that's
theories, anyways.
oh, you're exactly right. And I have a squirrel tube also, and it's a great way to get a pup's head up in the air. Um, introduce them to that scent and smell. But a lot of times I don't do that unless I've got one that just seems like don't have a lot of early natural tree power.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll help them to kind of kickstart them along. But even at that note, Kobe, I'm afraid that we uh, we hear about, or maybe even have a friend or somebody we know, or a pup in the past that was an early, just natural starter at 4, 5, 6 months old, and then we get that in our head that we think all of them ought to be that same. And I've said it many, many times. All pups are different, just like children are different. People are different. Uh, what works for one pup may not work for the next pup. So I think you need to leave a broad perspective of each pup being different and go at it. Well, I'm going to try A, B, and C. If that don't work, I'm not going to give up on it. And I'm going to go on to D, E, and F if it takes it to give that pup every opportunity it can to treat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, um, I was, I was one just as guilty as a lot of people's been, to give up on pups maybe too early, and then the next guy gets them, and a month down the road they're treeing. And I've also been the recipient of people giving up on a pup, and I get them, and they tree, maybe a month or two down the road. So I think it's good to keep that broad perspective of I'm going to give this pup every opportunity, and I'm not going to fall into that scenario of where um, I'm not going to use cage games. I'm not going to take them to, an easy spot. I'm going to give that pup every chance I can give it to succeed. And if that's putting them in easy squirrel woods, hunting them around feeders, maybe possibly a, a cage coon or squirrel, or using them to use that squirrel tooth, I'm gonna do what it takes to get that pup um, treeing up. So I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Completely. Uh,
So
I think kind of the secret sauce or the magic question everybody's looking for on these dogs is like what's the key, like what's the secret, what's the key to success. I would assume that because some people kind of think that, well, a lot of it has to do with the dog and maybe a lot of it has to do with the training program. I think it's kind of a combination personally, everything. But what's your thoughts on kind of what's the secret if someone was new into this and trying to get started and having some trouble? What
I
kind of advice would you have for them?
I would first of all, there's some for me, and I'm sure other people may have success a different route. For me, there's some things I try to hold myself to. One is, I'm going to try to hunt that young dog 80% by itself, solo, just me and that young dog. I'm going to form a bond with that dog, and I'm not going to introduce it to a lot of strange dogs or um, put it around dogs that maybe it'll start relying on or go into. I'm I hunt all my young dogs, uh, 80, sometimes even 90% by themselves because I want my dogs to be independent because I'm more of a competition hunter. Yeah, the second thing is people really need to watch how they use the training collar, that e-collar. Um, they they'll mess a young dog up really quick. Um, Whatever you're using that training collar for, only use it for one thing at a time. If if you're using that collar to tone that pup to come to you, stick to only doing that while you're training that pup until you get that aspect done. Um, just to make sense of what I'm saying is don't be toning it to come to you, toning it to try to make it go back to a tree, toning it to let the dead squirrel loose. Um, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now you've caused that mass confusion on that pup. Generally, I like to do my yard work while those pups are 4 and 5, maybe even 6 months old. I like to do my yard work where I'm teaching them to, um, you know, tone breaking them to come to me, leading them, tying them out. Um, and, I said this in the last podcast, but I take them pups on short rides, normally in my side by side in an open air crate. That way, I'm not allowing that pup to start getting sick in a box. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people grab these pups 5, 6 months old, throw it in a box, go 8 to 10 miles to their hunting woods, and pull that pup out. And that pup is nauseous. It's sick um, because you overdid it too quick. So that's another thing I think a lot of people um, do your homework while that pup's young, taking it, you know, a mile down the road at a time, short trips until it gets to where, it's used to being rode, and then ride that pup a lot. Um, and then another thing is once you get that pup to where it's treeing, it's staying. You know, you feel like, man, this pup is really shining, and then I'll take it with a buddy's dog, but I'm only going to take it. I'm not going to, I'm going to make sure that my pup has got my attention and I'm not drawn away by my buddy's dog. I'm using all my focus and attention on my pup. And that, that's some things that I do that I feel like. And then, of course, the old wear that boot leather out, put them in the woods. You know, if you only got a half an hour after work, use that half an hour. Don't be afraid to go make one or two trees. And the more you put that dog in the woods, the better that dog's going to become. I feel like, yeah, great blood work, great breeding, um, you know, it lines you up for success. But then I feel like training is 50% of that too. Um, you can have the best bred pup in the world, and if you mess it up during training, you know, it's not going to reach its potential. So I hope that helps people out there to, um, and then always keep something else in mind. I think a lot of people, I hear people say, man, my dog acts great. And then I brought it to this hunt and I've never seen it do that. Well, have you ever put it in that situation before you brought it to the hunt? I like to put my dogs in situations just like they're going to be at the hunt. Just for instance, I'll bring, when I got a dog ready that I'm getting ready to go to the hunt, a young dog, I'll bring that dog and leave it in my truck overnight and get up early the next morning and take it to a woods and have a friend meet me, and I'll put it in a hunting situation where it's slept in a dog box, it's getting out, it's going against another dog, and and I'm trying to um, put on like a mock hunt, and I want it to sleep in that truck overnight. I want it to come out, and that way that pup knows when I go to a hunt, it's not strange to it sleeping out in the truck at a hotel. I hope that helps people to understand those are some things that you can do to put that pup in the right direction to be successful too.
Mm-hmm. If
So,
if I could back you up just a little bit, I'd like to
yep,
talk about e-collars a little bit more. Uh,
yes,
so, do you do any kind of like an e-collar? So, like the first time you ever put an e-collar on a pup, or are you doing any kind of like collar conditioning, or what's your setup for that?
I have I have about a 3/4 acre training pen out on my property. And what I do is I'll put that pup in that training pen with the e-collar where it can't just run off. And now everybody don't have that luxury. If you don't have that luxury, I like to put um, a rope, maybe 50-foot rope on them and get out in an open field and do the same thing. But I just take that pup, and while I'm hollering for it, I like to be down on one knee, Kobe, because I found out that the lower you get with a pup, the more they'll apt to come to you. If you're standing straight up, it's almost like you're intimidating them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm working with them in the training pen to get them collar broke, tone broke, I always get down on one knee, and then I just encourage it to come to me. And if it's every time it turns to go the opposite way, I'll tone it, say no, 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 and I'll say come here, come on, baby, and I'll coax it to come to me. And like I say, I always like to be down on that one knee, and I feel like they're more apt to come to you because you're down there they don't feel so intimidated by you. And I do that before I ever take them to the woods, because that area, a lot of times people get frustrated with young dogs because they go to the woods, and then when they get back to the truck, that pup don't want to come to them. And then if they're, they end up getting aggravated at the pup and getting mad at it. And that's another reason I like to do the short rides too. That pup don't have a bad experience in that dog box, and therefore it don't try to run from the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So on e-collar, that's how I start. Now, once I'm through that stage of it, the other thing I use an e-collar for is if I've got a young dog that won't stay treed or comes off the tree or meals, those kind of things, I'll use an e-collar for that too. And generally what I do there is if I go into a young dog and he's off the tree, I'll just reach down and get him by the collar, and I use that tone button and tone him back to the tree the first couple times, and just telling him, get back on there, or telling her, and then after I've done that a couple times, I'll go to a real low setting on the shock side, and I mean a low setting, something where it's just tickling them, and I'll do the same thing. And then if they're real stubborn, you may have to go up a little bit on it. But generally, if you do that and you stay consistent with it 30, 40 times, then you can just give them a voice command like, get back on there, and they'll go right to the tree. So those are the two main things that I use. I'm not big on shocking a dog for running off game. I'll let that pup run off game for a while. Now, if it gets to be a major problem, of course you're going to have to correct it. But generally, what I've found is when they start running that off game, they're real close to getting ready to start treeing. They're getting gamey, so that don't bother me so much. That clarify what you was wanting to know on the e-collar.
Yeah. Another question on it though, from what you just said. So, whenever you say you're correcting them to get back on the tree, and you bump up to that very very low setting on stimulation,
Yeah.
are you holding like a constant, and then when they get back to the tree, you're releasing that and releasing the pressure, kind of a
No,
pressure on off thing?
no, I bump it. I'll have the dog collar, his actual collar, not the e-collar. I'll have it in my left hand,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll have my Garmin in, my handheld in my right hand. And each time that I'm saying get back on the tree, I'm bumping that, just bumping it, and I'm holding down on it.
Okay.
I'm bumping it. So if I say it 3 times in 10 feet, it's getting bumped 3 times.
Okay.
And that way it relates my voice to saying get back on there to, I'm gonna get bumped if I don't get back on there.
Mm-hmm.
So and like I say, I have had some that, a 1 or 2 don't seem to phase them. I got to go up to a 4 or 5. But generally, even if they're real bullheaded, generally you're gonna clean that up. Like I said in a previous, podcast, I don't tie my young dogs to the tree simply because I want to be able to correct them if they come off that tree. A pup that's tied to the tree, he don't get a chance to come off there and make those mistakes for me to be able to fix those problems. So when I go into a dog, I just let it be a pup around the tree, and I don't tie it. Now, that may not work for other people, but that's what works for me. That way I get a chance, if it's coming off that tree, I get a chance to fix that problem. Um, I hope that makes sense
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and now would maybe an exception to that be like, so you say you've messed with kind of the bird dog crosses before, then they can be a little bit
Yeah.
on the hot footed side. Would you try to stick to that if you had a dog that was maybe going in, treeing and wanting to get hot footed and leave before you got a chance to get there? Um,
I, I've had the bird dog crosses and even um, some of the strains of curs that are a little hot footed and, you know, may leave before you ever get there. And on those, um, I go back to that yard work that I've done with that tone button. I try to stay as close as I can to them, even if that takes wearing a pair of gym shoes to the woods where I can move through the woods a little faster and keep up on them. And then what I'll do is if they start leaving, I use that tone button that I've already trained at the house or out at the training pen to get them to come back to me, and then I'll use my technique to take them back to the tree. But with that being said, when I do that, I generally will tie them to the tree once I've taken them back to the tree because now I want to focus on getting the game down to them or encouraging them at the tree. So I will tie them at that time.
okay.
So yeah, that's a good question though because there is those lines of dogs that are a little more high strung and got way more energy than the typical mountain cur. So that is a good question.
Uh, so we talked about kind of earlier. We one of the questions I wrote down to ask you was kind of whether you like to kind of breed your own pups or if you like to source your pups and but along those lines, really the deeper question was that I was wanting to get to more than that because we kind of touched on that a little bit. That it sounds like you do a little bit of both. But what are you looking for in a pup? So say you've got this litter, uh, or if you're going to go over and look at someone's litter and you're going to get to pick a pup out of it. What are you looking for? What kind of traits are you looking for? What are you looking for in a puppy?
Yeah, that's a very good question because I think a lot of people, they'll they look more for the color or a build aspect. I'm not really concerned on the color or even so much of the physical makeup of the pup as I am. First, I want a bold pup. I don't want a shy pup. I don't do good with shy dogs or shy puppies. So I'm looking for a bold pup, something that is, you know, if I watch them all, in the pen, I'm looking for that one that's, uh, you know, the first one to come to the kennel door when it's time to feed, the one that's trying to climb up on me and I'm having to push it back to put feed in its bowl. Those are the first things I look at. And I like one that is easy to get his mouth open. If I've got six pups in that kennel, I'm watching those puppies and I like the one that's vocal. I like a very vocal pup, even though sometimes those are a little more of a nuisance in the kennel, and you may end up having some bark issues with them. I still want one that's easy to bark. Outside of that, those are the two biggest key factors I look for when I'm looking for a puppy. Is that something that you generally look for too?
Yeah, it is. Which I'm still trying to figure out what works best for me. I feel like I have a higher failure rate on starting pups than I should. So I'm very much trying to learn things myself here. But
Yeah, yeah,
I've gotten shy dogs because they were the last out of a cross that I wanted to
right.
try, and I've kept the boldest, craziest ones out of the litter, and I've kind of had some in some kind of mellow in the middle, and I've had litters where I didn't really mess with them other than just to kind of play with them and socialize them some here and there. And then I've tried to I've even I had one litter where I put different colored collars on every one of them because they were all brindle and looked about the same. And I did like little puppy tests and took in-depth notes on each puppy, and they each had their own kind of section of a notebook. And I don't know that it really
Right.
helped me any at all, but
It made you feel good, though.
it did make me
But
feel
yeah,
good.
I get people, they'll say, I want a brindle one, or I want a yellow one, or, I like a lot of chrome on mine. And, those things are all, I like a pretty pup myself, but I want that bold pup. I love a bold, energetic puppy. The bolder, the better. And I think it helps. Um, I've got a 16-year-old daughter that is just puppy crazy. So anytime I have a litter of pups, she names them all and she socializes them and constantly got them in the house and sitting on the couch with them. And I think the more you socialize them when they're little, the less chance you'll have of having a shy puppy. And kids are the best with pups, in my opinion. Puppies do better with kids than they do grown-ups when they're little like that. So I let my grandbabies play with them. As much social activity as they can get, the better. And I've also got a round pen that I put up in my yard, and I'll put them in it because I think it's good to reach over puppies and get them used to you reaching down on them instead of just reaching into a kennel. So I like to put them in that little, what I call socializing pen, where I'm reaching over them all the time. And they don't seem to cow down when you reach down to grab their collar when they get older.
Hmm.
So those are some little tips I think will help people when they do raise a litter of pups. Um, Socialize them as much as you can. It makes them, you know, a lot bolder. But some pups are just naturally shy no matter what you do, and I just don't do good with a shy pup.
Well, so say you, and I'm just throwing this out there, it could be any puppy, but you get one of those Messiah Walker dog pups, get it shipped up to
Yes.
you, or however you get to it. It's 8 weeks
Yep.
old. What is it other than socializing, other than letting the kids socialize it? What does kind of your early training program look like? You mentioned yard work earlier, but
Yeah.
and you mentioned you have a training pin and a squirrel tube. But kind of on average, kind of what's that progression look like? Are you trying to like get certain things done in the yard before, or are you taking walks on the woods as little puppies? Just kind of go through the way you like
Yeah.
to kind of go get them up to where they're actually ready for big woods.
Yeah. Because like with there's no way I can go all the way out to Wade's, and more likely I'll have that pup shipped to me. Um, so um, when I get that pup, if it works out and it looks like it's going to, I just asked him. I like the darker ones. I like the black blanket back. I like that in a hound. I always have. So if I'm just going to pick one, which that don't mean I'll get one all blanketed up, but I just told him that I'd like for mine to have his tail bobbed and give me one with a lot of black on it. And so when it arrives, what I will do is first thing I'm going to do, of course, I'm going to keep it here for my daughter and my grandkids to play with it till it gets up to about 2 months old. Once it reaches about 2 months old, then I'll take it out to my property. I keep all my dogs. I have a separate property, and I got all my kennels and my training pen and my tube and everything out there. I'll take that puppy out there, and I'm out there every day. And what I'll do is I'll just let it out. While I'm doing my dog chores or whatever, I'm just going to let that pup run around and be a puppy, and till it's about 4 months old. when it gets 4 to 5 months old, that's when I'm going to start the, toning it in the training pen and getting it to learn to come to me on commands. And once I get through that, and that pup comes to me every time I whistle, and it minds me good around my property, even out of the training pen. It minds me when I holler for it. Then it's time to start. My father-in-law has woods about a mile from my property, so it's and I've got trails all through it that I can ride my side by side. Then I'll load that pup up in that side by side in an open air crate. And when I say open air, make sure it's got good ventilation. And I'll ride it that mile and a quarter, whatever it is, up to my father-in-law's. And then we're just going to walk around the feeders. We're just going to take walks. And I'm going to do that 2 or 3 days a week, hauling that puppy on those short little rides. And that's going to get it introduced to being hauled, handled, lead strap going on and off. And generally, if they don't like the lead strap, I don't always do this, but if I've got one that's really just don't like the lead strap and pulls or fights the lead, I do have a cable tie out, and I'll leave one tying out for about a week, and just it gets fed and watered at its dog box or at the tie out, and that generally conditions them to where they're not going to fight you on a lead strap. Once I get that progression done and they're riding good, they're not getting sick in the dog box, they're coming out good, they're coming back with me, let me load them back up, and all of that work's done, then it's go time. I'm gonna try to put them in woods and scenarios to set them up for success. If that's taking them walks in places I know is loaded with squirrels, that's what I'm doing. At my father-in-law's, I keep out, feeders, bucket feeders, which what I do is I take 5-gallon buckets and just drill a hole in the top side of the bucket, and I put black sunflower seeds and corn in them, and I put them at the bottom of the trees and wrap, tie them to the trees, and I'll just take that pup walks, and eventually, just about always, I'm going to run across a hot squirrel and give it that chance to tree that hot squirrel. But if it seems like they're getting up 7, 8 months old and they haven't treed and they haven't, it just seems like they're not putting it together, then I'm probably going to catch a squirrel and put it in my tube. And I'm going to work it on that tube and get it barking good. And then I'm going to take and catch another squirrel, and I'm going to go out in the middle of my field, and I got some trees that's out in the middle of the open field, and I'm going to let it bark good, and I'm going to hold it back, cut that squirrel, and let it chase it across that open field, and hopefully get it treed and reward it. And then it should, by that time, you should be able to go back to walking around those feeders and getting them treeing. But like I said earlier, every pup is different, but the groundwork ought to be the same. I hope that helps.
It does. It does. That was a good explanation of it.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other good advice for starting one or getting one going? Or
like I say, don't be afraid. Just because maybe somebody on social media says don't use cage game or don't lay a drag with a dead squirrel, or don't let that stop you from doing the extras to get that pup started. And a lot of times I even, like this time of year, I've got one he's just starting a tree in the last month. And this is our season where you're not allowed to shoot squirrels out. So what I'll do with him is I'll find a dead squirrel on the side of the road, and I'll put that in a plastic bag and go out to the property and put that thing in my vest, and I'll take him hunting. And when he trees, I'll shoot up in there and I'll take that squirrel and have it in my hand. I'll shoot up in there and I'll take that dead squirrel and throw it up and let it come down. And he don't know no different. I mean, he's still getting the taste of a squirrel and getting rewarded, and makes him feel good about himself. So I use those little tricks too in off season. There's always a fresh dead squirrel somewhere between my property and my house. Couple of days a week I'll find one, and just I keep those little plastic bags in my truck where I can seal it up and keep that smell, and so those little things seem to help too on getting a pup started. But yeah, go the extra mile. I mean, don't give up on them so early, because sometimes you say, hey, I can't do it, and then you sell it, and the next guy 30 days down the road, he's got it cranking. So I've got one right now that I'm hunting. He didn't treat his first squirrel. He was born in August, and he didn't treat his first squirrel until February of this year. So, let's see. Am I telling that right? Yeah, August to February. Yeah, August to February. He never treated a squirrel. And then, maybe he barked up on a yard squirrel or something like that. But they're really what I call going to the woods for me and treeing and staying, and the major drive hawk dog that I won the junior world with has went on to win another world and I don't know how many state titles. He never treated until he was almost 10 months old. And the Raging Thunder dog I won the junior world with, he never treated till he was 9 months old. Really showed no interest, none, zero. Like you'd show him cage game, he wouldn't even bark at it. So I think, the maturity level sometimes has to get there on some dogs, and just even if it takes putting them up a couple weeks and resetting, I've even done that before. Sometimes you may have to reset them for 30 days and just give yourself a break. So those things help me. I know that.
Is there so say you get a young dog cranking good, and you're ready to start hauling it to some hunts.
Yes.
Say you're going to take it to the junior world or something like that. Do you have any tips
Yes.
as far as are you giving that dog any kind of supplements? Are you trying to put anything in its water to help it out? Are you just kind of doing anything special?
I always the biggest thing with these dogs, when I'm getting ready one for a field trial, is feed. You got to have a good feed. For years I ran the Purina Performance Pro Plan, but they kind of about priced me out of that stuff. I still feed some pups it, but when you're talking $100 for 37.5-pound bag of dog food, it's kind of out of my price range.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to make sure I'm experimenting with that dog throughout the year to make sure he's not getting hot on dog food, that he's staying healthy, and I'm not having to overfeed to keep him looking healthy. I want to make sure that dog food is keeping him energetic enough to keep going extra rounds. And then on top of that, I like to give them myself um, just the red cell for dogs. I'll put a little bit of that the couple weeks before I go to that trial. I'll start putting a little of that in with their dog food, and then keeping them hydrated. Um, the bounce back is really good. It's just electrolytes for dogs. Um, Elite Nutrition has a wealth of good stuff. Um, the salmon oil, I'll start putting some of that over their dog food. Um, Seems like it builds their endurance. But yeah, everything you can do to help that dog perform, um, do it. But experiment with it. Don't do it a week before the hunt and you've never done it, because it may cause that dog to do things he hadn't done before.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh,
If I could get you to back up just a little bit, and
yep.
when you say to keep one from getting hot on dog food, can you kind of expand on what maybe you mean
Yeah.
exactly by that, and what's actually going on
Yeah.
there, and what the symptoms are?
Yeah. You have a fat content and a protein content on all your dog foods. The first thing you need to know is stay away from any dog food. And I'm not blasting anybody's dog food out there, but there is certain dog foods I will not feed because they got grain, they got corn in them, and that corn um, is going to heat that dog up. It's going to it's going to cause that dog to get warm. And you say, well, in the middle of the winter, maybe they need that. Well, a running dog, a hunting dog, is going to produce enough heat, internal heat, in my opinion. So I want to keep them on like a 31-20 during the winter dog food, and I want to make sure that that dog food ain't got all that corn product in it and has the right ingredients in it to keep that dog energy up without producing a lot of heat. Because the dog that trees hard, hunts hard, internally he can get hot. So
So if
I've got a lot of.
if you're looking
Go
at a
go
dog
ahead.
food label, if you're looking at a dog food label, what you said corn, but is there anything else you're trying to stay away from?
Um, I don't like when they. I like chicken uh, product, but you got to watch if they start talking about chicken byproducts, because that could be beef feathers. Uh, you know, you don't know what they're calling byproducts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want real chicken, and um, like I say, generally, the biggest debate you ever get in on social media in the dog world is what dog food's the best.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I want a dog food that while I'm feeding that dog, I can feed it the same amount. I've got a cup that I feed every one of my dogs. And if that dog is not, um, I'm going to gauge that dog by its stool. And I know this is pretty, but I want a nice hard stool. And if it starts getting runny, I'm probably overfeeding that dog, or I'm feeding the wrong dog food. Uh, Good dog food, you should be able to have easy cleanup each day behind that dog. One, maybe two, uh, good hard stool in that kennel. And then, and if that dog got good muscle tone, he's filled out nice, he's not skinny, he's not, um, that dog food is working for that dog. I have had dogs that couldn't take the higher protein, the 30, where I'd have to back them down to a 27, 18. or something, but I kind of done it enough now that I watch my dog as I'm hunting it through the week. I want to make sure that its energy levels staying up, keeping them hydrated, watching those telltale signs. So, but dog food is a major factor in that dog performance.
Yeah, I've got
That,
go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've got a I've had dogs that it always seems like it works out to me that the dogs I end up liking the most are usually the hardest ones to keep in a kennel, as far as having food allergy or being finicky on what food they can eat without it messing their gut up. And
Right.
I say that, but that cray cray dog I've got right now, she's about the easiest keeping dog I've ever had in a kennel. She don't hardly eat anything, and she just has a nice hard stool on everything, and always has plenty of energy. So hopefully she throws that and passes that on down to her pups.
Yeah, that makes it nice when you got that. I've had a lot of guys call me, and they'll start telling me about, hey, I've had this young dog, and man, he's did good all winter, and here it is, because a lot of guys, down in the southern states, they're, you know, they get a little hotter quicker than what I do in Indiana, but they'll call me and say, hey, I got this young dog. He's been doing great. But here in the last week or so, he's really overheating at the trees. And the first thing I always ask them is, what kind of dog food are you feeding? And generally, it's about 99% of the time, it's because they've kept them on the same fat and protein content that they fed them all winter, and they didn't back them down for the spring. Um, I dial my dogs back in the spring and summer from what I feed them in the winter, because they don't need all that higher fat content in the summer as they do in the winter. But I stay with the same brand of dog food. I just dial back the fat content, and the protein even backs down a little bit in the summer and spring. But it does. Dog food will change a dog 100%, especially its endurance.
Do you mind sharing what feed you've been feeding and what you're having luck with?
I feed Pride, and I feed it's a 31-22 in the winter. In the spring, I go to a 27. It's a 27-20, and then which I'm in Indiana, so it stays a little cooler. And then now I just switched down to the 27-18 for the summer. But I've fed Pride for a few years now, and I've had great success. And it's the price ain't bad either. It's really good compared to what a lot of the prices are. And I know there's a lot of good dog foods out there, but that's the one that works for me, and I've had great success off of it in the last few years.
Well, it sounds like it's working.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'll always be a Purina guy because I think they got a great product. I just think they've outpriced that guy that's got more than one dog.
Mm-hmm.
No, hard to pay $100 for a bag of dog food.
Yeah, yeah. I've fed it
So,
before, and it is great feed, but
yes,
I think the last time I fed it, I was buying it for through a bird dog kennel, and that was buying by the pallet, and I think I was buying it for 50 a bag, and then I could afford it at that price, and then that's been 5 or 6 years ago, and it's kind of blown up since then in price, and it's a little out of budget now.
yes, yes, and I think they're hurting themselves not being more competitive on their pricing because they do have a great product, and I do stand behind. I still buy it. I'm feeding these puppies. I'll feed these puppies here for, performance, just because I think it works great for puppies when they get big enough to eat feed. That's what I'll feed them. But, I just, I've had great success with it, and you're not out that much on puppies. But once they get, a couple months old, they're going to get switched over to Pride. So
Yeah.
just because I know I can afford it, a little more than I can, especially when, once everybody picks their pups up, I'll be down to one, so it won't be so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else? Have we missed anything?
I don't. I think we've pretty well covered everything I had wrote down on my notes.
Okay.
Merle, I have surely enjoyed this conversation,
Oh,
and
I have too, brother.
expect to have me calling you from time to time, bugging you and asking you questions.
You call me anytime, and that's for anybody out there. I like I told you, I'm 55 years old. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to chase these things, but I want to pass this on to the younger guys that's going to keep doing it and keep this great sport alive. That's what it's all about.
Well, Merle, you don't have to give your phone number if you don't want to. But how could somebody get a hold of you if they don't already have your number?
Facebook,
Okay.
they can message me on Facebook, or like I say, about everybody that messages me, I'll give out my number too.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, like I said, Merle, I've really enjoyed the conversation. I know I've learned some stuff, and hopefully some of the people that listen to this show will pick up a trick or two. And like I said, I've really enjoyed. I feel like I've kind of gotten to know you this last hour, and I apologize. I've had a couple equipment errors while we've
oh, you're
been
fine.
recording this tonight, but
I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here too. Thank you very much, Kobe.
oh, you're welcome. And I appreciate you agreeing to and coming on. But well, I guess we're just a little bit over our normal time length, but that's perfectly fine. And I'd just like to thank everybody for listening. And if you don't mind, it helped me out a lot, and it don't cost you any money to hit like and share and follow the page and just kind of help promote the show a little bit. It helps more people find it, and it just kind of helps the audience grow. So to everybody out there, Merle, thanks again, and take care and keep wearing out that boot leather. I just want to give everyone that's listening a sincere thank you. Getting this podcast going has been a project. I really hope you're enjoying it, and if you don't mind, give the show a good rating and review wherever you're listening to it at, or share it on your social media to help get some traction. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.